Hey guys, welcome to the Life Lessons podcast with Donna Elliott and Cheryl Lee from Now Is Your Time. And today we've got an incredible story for you. We're with Chrissie WRIGHT, and we met Chrissie through our friend and PR guru Joe Swan. And Chrissie, last year at the age of just 43, decided to totally change her life. And the big thing in that for Chrissie was about changing her relationship with alcohol, because she realized it was a massive crutch, and through all of the things, through divorce and debt and the loss of babies, alcohol had become a real crutch, hadn't it, Chrissie? And you just decided enough is enough, and we couldn't wait to get you on. So welcome.
Thank you so much. This is pretty cool. Thanks.
This is so cool. We've waited for ages to do this with you, but we heard your story through Joe's group, and we were just blown away by it. Like, your authenticity was what really jumped out at us, and talking about some taboo subjects, much like Cheryl and I, that don't really get discussed very often, like the topics that tend to carry a lot of shame feelings for us. But you decided, didn't you, that you wanted to speak out and help other people who were feeling probably very much like you were back then?
Yeah, 100%. There is a lot of topics that I do speak about within my journey, and a lot of them are, like you say, they are often taboo subjects, or you're often stigmatized with them. And my actual crutch was, every time something happened to me, I would go towards the alcohol. That would be my sticky plaster. But I'd often use it to excess. I'd drink to excess. And again, with me changing my life last year, it was peeling that sticky plaster off, but also thinking I need to do something else with my life, and without the fear of judgment and stigma as well. Because what a lot of people didn't know about me, my close friends and my family, they didn't know that I drank to excess. Because
and when did it start, Chrissie? Like, when would you say it became more of just a fun thing on a Saturday night? Because we don't we say, oh, get the girls down, have a glass of wine.
Yeah,
or
I would, my journey with alcohol, I was really, really young. I was 14 years old. And that was my coping mechanism for mum and dad's divorce. They went through a really, really turbulent divorce, but it started out as underage drinking. So I'd be with the girls, behind billboards in the local park, and caning the Mad Dog 2020, Diamond White, all that kind of stuff.
Memories.
Pleasant ones though, when you're bringing it back up.
No, Mad Dog 2020. God, I'm having serious flashbacks now. For anybody listening in the States, that was kind of like was it like a cider, like a really but it was a strong drink?
It was a fruity one as well. Really, so they were different. Yeah, they were really fruity, really potent, nasty, but cheap, because we were kids. I was 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I realized then that it was the escapism. So all this crap that was going on in my home life, between the ages of 14 and 16, it was escapism for me. I was always the friend that drank to excess. I was always the one that it wasn't a good night unless I was throwing up and vomiting and going, I had a really good night last night. And my friends would be there going, Christine, you were stupid, basically. I can't say what I'd say, but, and they,
you can.
they'd be the ones going, we had a really great night, but you took it to excess. Because I'd be the one that would be wandering off on my own, and because I was so drunk. But then it also, not just that, there was obviously other trauma on top of that then. So it was just like, you can have some more of that shit then, Christine. So there was a period of my time, I was 15 and I was homeless. Mum and I were homeless. And again, it was just like, right, okay, Mum's dealing with her own crap because of the divorce situation with my dad, and probably feeling like a shit mum. That she was too busy to deal with me. So I was kind of a bit, not unruly, but it went unnoticed, the amount of alcohol that I was actually consuming, because everybody else were in their own little worlds. So,
and back then at that young age, like, were you doing it thinking like, I just want to be out of it, I just don't want to be worried about, like, what can you remember, like, what was your...
I completely remember everything. It was like, well, I remember thinking one evening I was getting ready with my girlfriends, because we always used to go to one particular house to get ready, and we were having a bottle of Thunderbird. It was
Thunderbird.
we were having a bottle of this Thunderbird, and I was like, oh, go get some more. And I could never go to the shop to get it. I looked 14, if not, I looked 12. And how I got into pubs at that age is unbelievable. Because that's when we were 15, we started going out into the nightclub scene in Leeds and things like that. I'd be wearing my sister's shoulder pads and all sorts. I looked terrible.
Happy days, good memories.
But I remember thinking, well, what else have I got? My dad doesn't talk to me. My sister doesn't talk to me. I'm sat here in this crap maisonette with my mum with an alcoholic underneath. And the only real thing that I had to look forward to were my nights out with my girlfriends, and dancing. That was a big escapism for me as well, was the dancing scene, because I've danced since I was 11 years old. So again, it was just everything kind of mirrored that. My teenage years and into 20s, really, it was drink and dance.
Right.
But I remember thinking, I've got nothing else. Yes, I knew I wanted to go to college. I also knew that I'd end up going to university because I just wanted to get away from it all. So none of my friends from school went to uni. I was the only one that went to university, which blew their minds. Here I was, I wasn't very clever at school. I was chatty, I was mischievous, I was that girl. And I never fulfilled my potential, I would say, within the classroom. I was too busy being mischievous and naughty. But I was fortunate enough to go to university, and again, to me, that were a massive win, because I'm thinking, well, uni, it's just party time. And I can get paid to go party, because mum couldn't afford to send me to uni. So at that time we were getting the grants, the university loans and things. And that's really what it was. So I was literally it was one big party. Fortunately, I didn't go down the drug scene, because, like I said, going back to when we were homeless, there was so much of that around me at the time. There was drugs, there was prostitution, and there was a hell of a lot of alcohol.
Wow.
And manipulation. So I did see all of that. And, that led into the massive sexual assault that happened to me when I was 17. And again, another reason why I wanted to just escape the town where I grew up, because I thought, well, I've not got much here. It's just bad memories, pretty much. Good memories with the girlfriends, but shit memories on the other hand. And I thought, right, okay. And at that point, I thought, if I go away to university, I can party hard, nobody knows me, but I can also set up another identity of not being Christine the pisshead. I could be Christine the pisshead who's actually learning as well and gaining some life skills and a qualification at the end of it.
So you're literally trying to escape your life at that young age.
I mean, it's funny because a lot of my friends from school now, they only know me as Christine, but a lot of my friends or a lot of people now know me as Chrissie. And that was me. It was like, right, okay, I'm not being called Christine anymore. I want to be called Chrissie. And I think that was me walking away from that childhood identity. And that's what I did. I went away to uni. I had an absolute blast. I lived in Cyprus for over a year, which was another party time. And I was just chasing the alcohol all the time. But having fun with it at that time, whereas previously it was an escapism. It was escapism, whereas now I'd entered into my 19, 20, 21. It was fun. That's where the alcohol turned into a fun kind of, okay, this is not as bad as it is. I don't have to drink to excess. But I quite like that anyway, so I'm still going to continue doing that, and I can have fun and be the party girl.
Yeah.
And get up on the stages and dance, and because that's another thing that I did whilst I was out in Cyprus. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then obviously I came home, still at university. So I was in my 3rd year at uni by the time I came back, and met my husband at that point. And I always vowed I'd never ever get married because of the trauma that I went through with my own parents and their divorce. I never saw that white picket fence dream for me. But then I met this guy, and 6 weeks later I was saying, yes, I'll marry you.
Wow.
Completely. All my friends were like, what the hell? What? You're the one who was going traveling, you were doing this, you were doing that. Are you mental? And he just swept me off my feet, literally swept me off my feet. And within 6 months I was pregnant with my first child, and all still at university, so I was in my 3rd year. And yeah, I was absolutely having a ball. By this time I'd quietened down. I'd grown up. I had to grow up because obviously I was going to be a mum. I was getting married, so again my whole life flipped at that point. And it was amazing from there. And I never thought I'd go back to uni after giving birth, but with his support and with his encouragement, I finished my degree, and then went into work into hospitality and worked my way up through the ranks there. And life was good. Life was pretty epic at that point.
What happened?
He wasn't that great, is what I found out. So again, we were married for quite some time. I think it was 7 years. And in that time, I did have that dream. I did have that white picket fence dream. I had my house built. I had 2 kids, both in private education. By this point, I'd set up my own business in floristry because I always wanted to be a florist. I never knew to what extent or what vein. And because he was doing so well in his career, he just went, leave what you're doing and go do your floristry, which he only had to ask me once. I was running 3 restaurants at the time in Selfridges in Manchester, and I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. And that's what I mean. I thought I had the fully supportive husband.
Yeah.
And I found out that he was having this bit of fun, and then that's when it went all tits up and pear-shaped. And from that, the whole journey of my teens, my childhood memories started to resurface.
Came rushing back. It's almost like that event triggered this memory that says, you're not white picket fence.
Yeah.
Girl, you're party girl.
And a lot of it was, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve this because of, why would you deserve it? You're just this kid from Batley, which is this little town in Yorkshire. You're just this kid you tried to be someone bigger than what you were. You were sexually assaulted, so you damaged goods. So why would you have all this handed to you on a plate and expect it to stay? So I had all that, plus all the baggage from mum and dad's divorce. And that just literally, I went off. I was out of control. Literally, I can't cope.
Just literally that self-destruct button.
And 100% that. And I think the catalyst for it was, I actually found out I was pregnant at the time when everything was kind of unraveling. I always thought he'd never do this to me. And my best friend at the time, she was saying, just check his phone. And I'm like, I've no need to. We are tight. We are solid. And she's like, I check my husband's phone every now and then just to keep him on his toes. I really don't need to do that. We have such an open relationship, and and everybody, when it came to light, was so shocked because they went, we would never have thought that of you guys. We thought you were solid. And I really did take it hard, and it was obviously after finding out that I was pregnant and I lost the baby, lost the baby girl, it was just like, whoa, I couldn't take so many more catastrophic losses in such a short period of time. And that's when I tried to go, do you know what? What's the point? What is the point in being here? I literally didn't have any purpose.
It was just like everything being unraveled. So what was the relationship then with, like, how were you using alcohol at that point in time? And Chrissie, what was the pattern?
By the time that I'd left my husband, because I actually left the family home, we tried to work it out for, I think it was 8 months, and it was me. There was just no way I could get. There was nothing there with him.
No,
it was all me doing the work, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just flogging a dead horse here. So I actually left the family home with the boys, and at that point I was drinking two bottles of wine a night. And I'd be the one going to the supermarket and getting the yellow labeled stick of food for the boys, or I'd be going to, it was at the time when I think the meal deals started coming round, you know, Tesco's, you know, you get £10 and you get a bottle of wine. So I thought, cool, I'll do that. It means that £70 a week, the boys are fed, and I've got 7 bottles of wine. And then I would literally be budgeting, okay, so that's 7 bottles of wine for them. But if I get 3 for 10 bottles of wine, that's another £20 on that. That's £90. So that means I've got 13 bottles of wine for the week. And I was literally working out my wine intake per week and the monetary value of it around the money that I had coming in. Because you've got to remember as well, I was self-employed and the shit hit the fan. So which then meant it was detrimental to my finances. So I was on state benefits thinking, right, how far can I stretch this money to buy my wine and feed my kids at the same time? And you know, it was mind-blowing. And in my head I didn't see it as a problem. It was helping me sleep. I was doing this so that I could get some sleep on a night. And it wasn't until I actually went to the doctors and said, do you know what? I need some help. I am not sleeping. So can you please just give me some sleeping pills? And this is the family doctor I've known since birth. And like, Christine, is, why aren't you sleeping? He obviously knew the story. I'd spoken to him about the divorce and everything. And he says, so what are you doing currently to sleep? And I said, well, I'm having 2 bottles of wine a night, doctor, and I'm doing so blasé about
Matter
it.
of fact.
Thinking just thinking
it's normal.
And he was like, right, okay. He says, well, before I even prescribe you any tablets, he says, we're going to do some tests. He says, I want to do some blood tests on you. And part of those were my LFTs, my liver function tests. And this was even before he prescribed me any medication. And from that, it was found out that I did have this liver disease, which it was an unknown disease. It was a relatively new disease called PBC. It was called primary biliary cirrhosis, I think. It's cholangitis now. I think they've changed it. And I was like, right, okay. And again, even at that point, I was still drinking, even though I'd moved on to a consultant and they were going, Christine, you can't drink anymore. And I'm like, are you sure about that? And I remember these words were coming out to the consultant. Are you sure about that? Can I just not have a glass of champagne with my brides that I'm, you know, doing the flowers for? Or can I not have champagne at the events that I'm going to? And he was going, no. And I was blown away by this. And I think I then went dry for about a year. So at this point, I'll have been 34. But by this point, I'd got into a really narcissistic relationship as well. So I started drinking to hide the shit that was going on in that, or just to deal with him. He was quite a controlling guy. And then because I was hiding it, he found out. So I just thought, right, I'll openly drink then. And I again started that journey of maybe a bottle of wine a night, leading up to nearly 2 bottles of wine a night. Then left that relationship because I'd kind of got strong enough at that point.
Yeah.
So I was still drinking, even though I had this liver disease. And the reason I couldn't stop wasn't the fact that I felt gripped by the alcohol. I was gripped by the fear of not knowing who that person would be without the alcohol. And I vividly remember sat on my stairs in my hallway, opening the door because it led out into the garden, the pathway, and I thought, right, okay, if I stop drinking, I genuinely don't know. And I envisaged the person walking out the door. So I envisaged me walking out. I genuinely don't know who that person walking back up the street would be. And I was crying for at least 3-4 hours over that. I couldn't contain the emotion, the fear, the fright, the shame.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm being told you have to stop.
Yeah.
And I couldn't because of the shame and the fear and the judgment, because a lot of people didn't really know that I had this problem. The only people who knew were the controlling ex, a couple of my good friends, and maybe my mum. So my biggest circle didn't know this person. They always thought there was this fun, crazy Christine, jolly, la-di-da-di-da. And I just thought, but I don't know who I would be. Would I become boring? Would I become that wallflower? Would I become miserable? Would I be a shit mum? And all
so you actually felt like the alcohol was like helping you be you, like that's because that's who you were.
I was
your identity.
It's living my life through alcohol, but not thinking I had a problem.
Yeah.
This is what I speak about later on in my journey. It's, I was a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. People, I remember putting a post out last year, because again, last year was the year that I decided to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Now you've got to think, I went 9 years.
I was just going to say, you went 9 more years though of going through that. Really that decision, albeit not the best decision around, I'd rather keep drinking and be that person. At some level, that was the decision. I'd rather be drinking and be that person, because that's better the devil you know. Because you just weren't ready to give it up, were you?
But not just that, there was also other elements of my life, which again, more trauma coming in.
Yeah.
And again, because I always used it as my crutch, it was like, right, well, I'll just drink, I'll just drink to put up with that person. I don't like that person, but they've got me in such a hold that it makes it easier for me. I remember being 40. Oh my gosh, honestly, 40 years old, dancing in bars, in clubs, on tables, waking up, getting home at 5-6 o'clock in the morning and thinking, what the hell are you doing? You are not a student. You are a middle-aged woman with 2 children.
Steady.
And a business. What are you doing? But I was so gripped. And again, I use the word grip a lot. I was gripped by this other relationship that I was in. And I think when I do speak about my journey in my talks and things like that, it's all about I became this pattern, this destructive cycle of behaviors. And it would pretty much be drink, relationship, failed relation, drink, relationship, failed relation, drink, debt, throw, and all this kind of thing. And that's the world that I was living in for probably 10 years. But because I was drinking so much, and because what am I trying to say? The confidence, because my confidence was so low, I would just latch on to, he'll do. because I didn't feel worthy of a great relationship, because the guy that I loved to bits and adored, well, he shat on me. So what's the chances of me finding another guy who
anyone will do? Not Mr. Right now, as we
Yeah.
say, but
Which, the irony of it is, he was my Mr. Right. I am Christine Wright, and that's the you know, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was literally.
But it's that addictive behavior, though, isn't it? When we say, well, I'll give it up when I'm in a happy relationship, or but then we'll always find a reason, I'd imagine, to drink or to take drugs. If that's your cycle that you're in, you'll always, there's never a perfect time, is there? There's never a. So what eventually made you sit up and say, this is not who I am, like, this is not how I want to spend, this is not who Christine Wright is?
That was January last year, and I've always been quite a spiritual person. I've always felt gut instinct, but again, because it was quashed with the alcohol, I never really listened to it. But it was one evening I was driving home, and I just looked over to my right hand side, and I thought, something caught my eye, and I thought, wow, I was really drawn to this particular area of road that I was on, and it was a guy who was just pacing up and down this bridge. It was like, goes over the motorway. It was a footpath as well, and I just thought that's a little bit weird, and I actually drove past him. And it wasn't until I got to the traffic lights and I just thought, I need to go back. I really need to go back, because that's not normal.
Really?
And what I did is I literally looped back round. And at this point now, he was over the guardrail, the safety rail of the motorway bridge.
Wow.
And I literally pulled this chap back over, and I just cradled him for half an hour until emergency services came. And it wasn't until I was literally listening to him speak that he had a failed relationship. He's always crap with poor judgment choices. He was an alcoholic. He was grieving for his brother. I was grieving for my dad, because my dad passed away 6 months prior to this. He felt worthless, unlovable. And I just sat there cradling him. And that was like the massive, big epiphany. Like, what the fuck? This is me. This is the male version of me.
That was your mirror.
And that to me blew me away. It was like, right, girl, you have to sort your shit out, because you've got two amazing boys who think the world of you, and they do. Often they've said, "Mum, we've never known a stronger woman than you." So, you know, and I'm there thinking, all I do is I do my best for them, but then I escape with the wine and the gin and whatever else I couldn't get my hands on.
But you know what's really interesting as well, though, about your story is, I think a lot of people think that alcoholics are the people that will pass on the street, who are drinking out of a bag, who are homeless, who are, and you know, I grew up with a lot of alcoholism in my family, and I identify really strongly with what you're saying, because that was a lot of the patterns that I saw. But they would never have called themselves alcoholics, because it was wine. And it was a night, and it's almost like society and films and all that glamorize it, don't they? It's like, oh, you have
this
a
is
wine.
it. It's, you know, our culture, it's socially acceptable to drink to commiserate. It's socially acceptable to drink to party, to, you know, to celebrate things.
A wine in the day.
Exactly. Wine o'clock, gin o'clock. And it's, you know, obviously whilst me doing all the work that I'm doing now. So going back to Danny, who was the chap, and I say, he was my earth angel. And a lot of people say to me, well, you saved him, you were his earth angel. And I go, actually, no. He put me on my path. He put me on my track of, because I went home that night and I poured the biggest glass of gin. And I drank that, and I drank another one, and I took another one to bed, which is what I also used to do. I used to take wine to bed and stuff like that. And I sat there and I was really reflecting on the day, and I was just like, you need to sort your shit out. You really need to sort this out, because if you carry on, that could be you on that bridge. You've tried it once, and fortunately you didn't do it. who knows, the second time you might not be you might not be as lucky.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that thing, you know, a functioning alcoholic, all it takes is that one big thing and it will trigger them into becoming a non-functioning alcoholic, which is where you're a full-blown alcoholic.
Yeah.
And the escapism is, it's just, the pit is too deep then. You're too far in, and that's when the shit really hits the fan. And so with what I do now, I don't say that I help alcoholics, because people automatically assume it's the ones that are on the park benches drinking out of paper bags, the cheapest vodka. But statistically, it shows that, well, there's over 800,000 dependent drinkers alone in the UK. Yeah. And 82% of them aren't getting treatment. And that's because of things like wine o'clock, gin o'clock, Prosecco o'clock. It's 5 o'clock anywhere in the world. Yeah. So it's normalized. And, you know, we will all know someone who likes a drink, but don't think that they have a problem. They think, oh, do you know what? I can just stop it whenever I want. Yes, you may be able to just stop it whenever you want, but can you stop for good? Yeah. Do you want to stop for good? And that's the difference. So with what we do within Habit Breaker, so that's what happened. I literally left my business, my floristry business, on the 31st of March last year, even though my lease ran out in January 2020. I left my floristry business Mother's Day, because obviously that's a bit of an earner.
After Mother's Day. Well, like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, and then we left. Yeah. What do you do? Like, what do you do? And I want to know how people can reach out to you as well, because there will be people who are listening to this going, holy shit, that's me. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I really do want to stress, there is no stigma, there is no judgment, because that was a big, massive thing for me. That was me being the fearful woman, not knowing what to expect. Also being in the doctor's surgery again, and telling the consultant that, well, no, I don't drink anymore. Basically them trying to laugh me out of the chair, going, hold on a minute, you were 2 bottles of wine a night, that's like 14 bottles a week, and then on a weekend you'd go out and have gin and be partying till 5 o'clock in the morning, and you'd be having like 18 gin and tonics. You're telling me you stopped completely? Yes, I did. And they didn't believe, it was the disbelief. Wow. And I really do want to stress that the programs that we offer, so it is membership. We do offer membership. So it's 28 days, 90 days, or an annual membership, which is, it's no hard push. It's basically for you to stop a habit, you have to create a new habit. A new positive habit. I'm not saying stop wine for drugs. I'm not saying that. Stop wine for sex. You know. So it's literally, you know, we help people do that, and we encourage them, we coach them, it's all, you know, email. So they don't have to be fearful of anybody finding out, but it's all about having the fun. So that's one part of it. The other part is that we do workshops as well. So we do workshops, and we call them our reframing workshops. Because that's what I had to do. I had to completely reframe everything. And within that is, I know we spoke about the art of forgiveness. That's massive, I think, to go, do you know what? The art of forgiveness is so hard to do. That once you get over that though, and once you develop it, and you can move mountains with that. And all that is part of our process in the reframing workshops. And then we've got things, I'm in the process now of having a look at retreats and doing retreats, you know, so it's all quite holistic as well. So, and quite spiritual, because I found a lot of my spirituality now that I've stopped drinking. Yeah,
now that it's able to come through, because you're not, well, drinking's numbing yourself, isn't it? You're numbing yourself, and now you're opening yourself up. And what is amazing is that you've spoken out, and you are speaking out, and you're doing so much to help other people. people change their lives, because you could have just stayed small and stayed over there and sorted you and the boys out, and you decided to go big. It's so inspirational.
I'd say my biggest success story so far is a lady that came to me, but she was her habit was gambling. And I didn't know this at the time, and she just says, look, I'm not alcohol, I don't know if you can help me. And she was basically my beta tester. So I said, look, I'll put you through my program. If it helps, fair enough. Oh my gosh, this woman smashed it. So she would be going to bed, getting up in the morning and spending up to £500 a morning before she even got out of bed, on casinos, on gambling, and she'd be going to friends saying, oh, family, can I borrow some money for the rent?
Yeah.
And I can't believe how proud I am of this woman now, because she literally totally smashed it. Not only has she given up her job, she had a really good job, didn't feel fulfilled, that she left her job, she started her own business up, creating and making bespoke furniture. And that new business is far outweighing the money that she earned in her professional life.
And she'd be so much happier now as well.
She's so much happier. And that's the thing, it's about, finding what you want. So your dream, it's about your dreams, it's your aspirations. And that's what the reframing process is all about. What is it you want to change? So it's the what ifs and the whys.
Amazing. So what's the, to close the podcast today, and thank you so much to the guys that have listened, and please do reach out to Chrissie even if you just want to talk with no judgment in a safe space. What's the one life lesson you would pay forward to that one person now who's listening, who's identifying with that story, Chrissie?
Forgiveness. And I've said this to you before, is learn that, honestly, once you start forgiving yourself, and because we all make poor judgments, we all make bad judgments, and we all hold a grudge. But the biggest thing for me was learning the art of forgiveness, because that meant I could learn the art of forgiving the guy that violated me, forgiving my husband for being the knobhead that he was, And we have a great relationship now.
Yeah.
And in doing that, it has opened it up to me so much that there's no bitterness.
Yeah.
And I think if you live your life through purity and no bitter, no angst, no anger, you're going to get so much further in life, and you're going to be far more peaceful and spiritual about it. I would say learn the art of forgiveness.
Love that. Love it. Thank you.
You are so inspiring.
Thank you. We're so blessed to have met you, and we'll make sure obviously all the details are there for people to contact as well. So thank you so much for sharing your life lesson, Chrissie.
Thank you for having me. You take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.